It's the penultimate weekend of Championship predictions from the On Football Podcast. I'm Craig Savage, I'm returning Craig Savage, and with me as always is Daniel Cody and Charlie Betts. Let's have a quick recap of last weekend's action, and it was pretty good. Everyone got a perfect score in certain ways. Charlie got two perfect scores. He got two perfect scores in the 1-1 draw between Nottingham Forest and Stoke, and the 2-2 draw of Reading versus Swansea. Daniel Cody got a perfect score in Watford's promotion 1-0 win against Millwall. And I've got 3 points on Cardiff beating Wycombe 2-1. So overall, including the Brentford game in midweek, which also finished 1-0 to Brentford, Charlie Betts wins with 11 points to my 10, to Daniel Cody's 7. It should have been more if he actually picked 1-0 to Brentford instead of 5-1. So overall, the scores look like this. I'm on 328 with 55 perfect scores. Daniel Cody's on 306 with 50 perfect scores now. And Charlie Betts is on 276 with 37 perfect scores. So let's start off with Sheffield Wednesday. They are playing Nottingham Forest at Hillsborough. Daniel Cody, Sheffield Wednesday still can get out of it, but it's looking impossible now.
I think just is the word, isn't it? Just. If everything else goes their way, and they've got to do their bit as well, which I don't think over 2 games is going to happen. I think Neil Warnock probably enjoyed that win against them more than any, but that's a different subject. I do back Sheffield Wednesday, particularly against the Forest side, who the attacking woes have continued. They just started to get back to it. They got that convincing win against QPR, now 2 goals in 4 games. I think at home Sheffield Wednesday will win against a side that are metaphorically on holiday, but I don't think it's going to be enough overall. As much as I'd like it to, Sheffield Wednesday are still going to win this one, though. 1-0. It's going to be a low-scoring, rubbish, tense game to start.
Charlie?
I don't know where this pessimism about Wednesday's coming from. We're all forgetting they're playing Derby on the last day of the season. If they win, as I'm going to predict as well against at the weekend, puts them on 42 points. Derby on 43. I mean, I don't know where the Rotherham win's necessarily going to come from. We'll talk about that in a bit, I'm sure. I honestly think, and this is the way that the bottom of the Championship table's gone all season, I honestly think they'll do it. I'm really unsure as to why Forest have maybe had those woes up front. We've spoken about that all season, but Sheffield Wednesday have been stronger at home. They've only lost 1 in the last 5 at home. The problem is, whenever it does point to a Sheffield Wednesday win, they don't get it. And this has to be the week it breaks their hoodoo, surely. Because whenever they're not meant to win, they seem to pick up points. But this one they are. So I'm going to go Sheffield Wednesday to win. 2-1 Sheffield Wednesday. 2-1.
You two very much taken the 2 scores I actually do think will happen. But I'm going to go, not for them two. I'm going to go in the middle. I think this will be the game that I think Sheffield Wednesday would want to, obviously need to go out and win. Forest, not spectacular this season, but the safe. I can see it probably the same scoreline as they did against Stoke last weekend. I'm going to go for the Championship favourite scoreline of 1-1. Up next, it's Birmingham versus Cardiff City. Charlie Betts, Birmingham, since they've both taken over, it's got a good record, and you have to give him a lot of credit.
Oh, he's done fantastically well. We're now on a series of games going through the fixture list of. I don't like the term dead rubber because they're football matches and we love football matches, but there's not really much riding on them. And we've alluded to this before, and it's happened occasionally. They'll either be very drab games or they'll be absolute barnstormers where you end up with goals galore. But I don't know. This is a bit of a tough one because I don't really know in terms of Birmingham being in fantastic form. That's one thing you can't knock about Lee Bowyer. That's not the issue in predicting this game. The issue is Cardiff City. Is where do you go with them at the minute? Flying start, then 3 draws in 5. Sandwiched either end by winning a loss. I honestly don't know what we do with that. So I think there'll be goals in it though, as I've said. So I'm going to go, I'm bold here, 3-1 Birmingham City.
Cody?
It's quite a hard one to predict because Birmingham defensively have let in 2 goals in their last 6 games. Cardiff have let in 11. So one record's going to go. Either that or Birmingham are going to thrash them. And looking at it, when Cardiff had the last bad day at the office, they lost 5-0 against Sheffield Wednesday. So there's part of me that's thinking to go ridiculous, but I'm haunted by that Brentford game in midweek. So, no, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go for the first time I think under Lee Bowyer, I'm going to go for Birmingham to score 3 goals to 1.
I'm going to go the opposite way, actually. I'm going to go 2-1 to Cardiff. I don't know why. It's got both these teams got nothing to play for. Cardiff can't get the playoffs. Birmingham's safe. 2-1 Cardiff. Up next, it's Brentford versus Watford. It's third versus second. Daniel Cody. Watford promoted. They got the job done before playing these final 2 games against Brentford and Swansea. How do you think they'll get on for next season under Cisco? Do you feel it'll be the same sort of circle? Will it get promoted, have a bit of bad form, sack a manager, get a little bit of form again, sack another manager? Or do you think that it actually they'll keep Cisco on for at least another season?
I don't know. I think the one thing I got out of the celebrations, in fairness to him, is he seemed to be incredibly popular with the squad. I mean, they absolutely love him by the looks of things. Certainly the players that are involved in the matchday squad. I think the problem is that no Watford manager is more than 4 defeats away from the sack. I think that's the terrifying thing. We saw it with Javi Gracia when he got to the FA Cup final. In terms of this game, I don't know if the bounce will carry on for Watford. Brentford, one more win and they've wrapped up third, which might not mean anything because all the others are on 77 points. Who knows who you're going to face? But they're the 1-0 specialists, so it's either 0-0 or 1-1 for me. I'm going to go for one apiece because I think David Raya's got a clanger in him and they wanted to get it out before the playoffs. And Watford, they're scoring goals. They're doing okay. 1-1, Championship's favourite scoreline.
You've got to give Watford credit. They've been on since late in form. Even that defeat in the derby to Luton hasn't stopped them. So you have to give them a lot of credit on that. I don't know if you two have noticed. Have you seen how Brentford kick off? They roll the ball back. The guy does a flick and then boots it up in the air like it's a rugby game. And then they go and charge and try and get the ball down. I've seen it a couple of times now. It's very strange. It really surprised me. But it's got nothing to do with my prediction here. I'm just going to point it out to you. But it's something to talk about because this is also another dead rubber. So I'm going to go 2-2, actually. I'm going to go Brentford 2, Watford 2. Charlie?
I'm floating between 0-0 and a sneaked win 1-0 either way. And basically, I largely agree with what both of you are saying. Watford obviously been amazing, but away from home, 1-8, drawn 8. Brentford at home, drawn the last 4 out of the last 5. So I have to go for a draw, but you two have already nicked it. So I don't know if it'll be... I might have to go for 0-0.
Huddersfield, they're at home to Coventry City. Charlie, Huddersfield staggering over the line. I see 5 goals to a Blackburn side who haven't been in good form as well. So do you think that Huddersfield need major changes over the summer?
Oh, huge. I mean, there's a massive issue defensively. We've mentioned that, and particularly late on in the game. I mean, they let in so many goals in the last 15 to 20 minutes, so that has to be dealt with. What's been their saving grace is that, but really, and I don't like disparaging other teams, but Derby have been so woeful behind them that I think they've been quite lucky in a sense that teams around below them have not played as well as they could have done. I really don't know where you go with this one. Coventry have been in better form. I don't know, 3 wins out of the last 5. I'm going to have to back Coventry. I just, after Huddersfield with that sort of letting in 5 goals like that, that's criminal for me. So Coventry, and despite the comments that I've been given, have turned the corner, have done very, very well. And so I'm going to go 2-0 Coventry City.
Yeah, I think Coventry will win this game as well. Huddersfield, I don't think the manager will be there next season. I think they've just got the safety, and then they might go another direction again come the summer. Coventry, yeah, I thought they were going to get dragged right in, and they haven't. Fair play to them. For the fans themselves, they've had a rough ride the last couple of seasons. I was promoted from League One to the Championship, survival, not playing at the Rico. And now they're obviously going back in the summer, which is great news for them. So they're playing in their own city. It's fantastic. But I think, I do think Coventry will win this game. I'm going to go for 1-0. Cody?
I find this a little difficult because Huddersfield have been better at home than on the road. They've only lost the 2 games by 1 goal against good sides, and they've drew at home to Rotherham. Coventry have won their last 2 away games. They found goals when they needed to, but Coventry can afford to go on holiday now. They've passed the 50 point mark. Sorry, they're safe. They're comfortable. Huddersfield technically still need another 2 points to stay up. They still need to get them because if Rotherham win all 3 games, they're on 48. So they've got to do it, and Huddersfield have got a worse goal difference. But I don't think they're going to win this game. However, I think they're going to nick a point. 2-2.
Up next at the Kenny, it is Luton Town versus Middlesbrough. Daniel Cody, Luton Town are a fantastic second half side.
Yeah, it's remarkable, isn't it? We actually had a couple of good first half performances for a while as well against Watford and Reading. But back to the second half special at Bristol City. First time in the last 2 away games, we've looked really threatening in attack. And it has been partly due to a change of personnel. We got to see Collins and Adebayo together for a little while, which seemed to be a very promising sign for next season. Middlesbrough back in good form. I mean, Neil Warnock would never have been more motivated for a game than that Sheffield Wednesday one in terms of dead rubbers. But I don't think the same's going to happen here. I don't think I've done this all season. And if it were based on my score predictions, Luton probably would have gone down. But I'm going to go for 2-1 to Luton Town and Middlesbrough on holiday at the back.
Charlie?
Yeah, I mentioned goals. I think this is going to happen in this one because it's the 2 teams that you think will defensively be probably one of the more sound ones in the league. But that just when you think that, this is when the Championship throws up these scores. But I'm going for a repeat of that first game of the season of when Luton were back in the Championship. 3-3. Just because I think this is those games when you just think nothing's to play for. Both teams don't keep a clean sheet that often. 29 and 27% respectively. Goals galore, 3 each.
Charlie, You just took the scoreline away from me.
Yeah.
I generally was going to go 3-0. Well, that's how
You never go 3-0.
Exactly, and it's nothing to play for. And I thought, I'll go. Do you know what? I'll watch the highlights of that game from last season. But Charlie's taken it away from me already. So I'm not going to go 3-0. I'm going to go 3-2. I'm going to go 3-2 Luton. Luton were fantastic second half, and I'm very happy for Harry Cornick. First goal in 45 games. Very good 3 points away at Bristol City. Middlesbrough 3-1 at home to Sheffield Wednesday. Yeah, very good result. Good to see him back in some winning form, but Luton can go above them with that extra game in hand in midweek against Rotherham. So I'm going to go Luton to win 3-2. Speaking of the team that Luton played on Sunday, Bristol City, they are away at Millwall. The big breaking news just before we start this recording is Nigel Pearson has signed a 3-year deal to stay at Bristol City. Thoughts, guys? 3-year deal for Nigel Pearson. Cody.
Well, interestingly, this is a big commitment from the club, given the form they've been in following his first couple of away games. So they obviously like what he's doing. He's obviously sold the vision of what he's going to do. And as I'm sure Charlie will attest for in a minute, there is no doubt that Nigel Pearson is a man capable of doing that. The problem Charlie had at the start, despite being Nigel Pearson's agent for the most part this season, is that the Bristol City squad didn't suit him. But they've got some young players that have a value to them and would suit other sides. So if he can get 2 big sales for 15-20 million pound combined, he could build a side that's ready to compete for the top 6 for Bristol City. If he gets that back in, I think he'll be fine. So I'm not surprised he signed a new one. And I just hope they stick through it, because with a whole new squad, the first 10-15 games next season will be the hardest. In this game, though, it's the 2 sides that are on holiday. So 0-0.
Charlie.
I just do the score first. I agree with Dan in the sense that I think it won't be high scoring. Bristol City generally away from home have been better. They've, more draws. Admittedly, I know at home still I don't think got a win under Nigel Pearson. So yeah, I don't know really. I think it'll be a draw. But is this almost like a new manager bounce? Are the players now going to think, well, we have to, because when he's on a temporary, sometimes do you think, oh, maybe I'll just sack it off a little bit because he might not be here in the summer? I don't know. So I'm just going for that possible mentality. 2 each. But in terms of my thoughts on the appointment, I think Dan said a lot about it. I just think that unless he overhauls that squad, I don't see the point in giving him a 3-year deal. But I imagine if they've given him that deal, that's what they're going to buy into. But he does need a bit of time, like any manager, not just him, any manager of any experience.
I'm going to get my score out of the way. I'm going to think Bristol City are going to lose this game 2-0. From what I watched the Luton game last week. First half, okay, it wasn't spectacular. Other than that, they were hopeless. With a Nigel Pearson deal, I'm surprised it's 3 years. I would have thought it would be 2. In my opinion. 13 players are out of contract come the end of the season. Jeju is one of the players out of contract. He's probably the only player I've seen in that squad that actually will have a good price tag on him. But he's out of contract, so they're not going to get any money out of that. So it will be a major overhaul. I agree with you that give it 10, 15 games, see who they bring in over the summer, and go from there. I can't see them sacking after 6 games. I really can't. So 3-year deal for him. Yeah, and Millwall going to win 2-0. So that's that. Norwich are at home to Reading. Still not crowned as champions, but Charlie, Reading had a very good start to this season. How disappointing that they've actually missed out on the playoffs?
Well, we discussed this the other day. For me, it's put it into context. Pre-season, I don't think anyone really had any hope of Reading being in and around the playoff picture at this stage of the season. The problem is, given the start they had, it then builds up that hope. It builds up that momentum that you think actually we might be able to do that. It's a fantastic. This is one thing we've got to think about. It's a fantastic foundation for next year, providing they can hold on to the players such as Lucas João, who's maybe been a bit in and out of form, but still a quality talent. What I will say is, away from home, the last 5 games, not a single win between them. So, as much as Norwich maybe in the last 3 or 4 games have started to take the foot off the gas a little bit and have got promoted, I think this is where they'll become champions. I think that even not through necessarily excellent play from Norwich. I mean, they've got a home win percentage of 59%, not the best in the league, but still fantastic. 2/3 pretty much, of a win. Reading are just not. I think that was not the stuffing out of them, unfortunately, that, not quite making the playoffs in that sense. So on that basis, 1-0 Norwich, not a lot in it, 1-0.
Hey.
Well, actually, I mean, the Norwich thing, to put into a bit of context, the 2 games they lost at home, which were their last 2 home games, were against Bournemouth and Watford, who are probably 2 of the other form teams in the league. So I don't want to read too much into it, as much as you think maybe they're in average form now. Reading are drawing every game. It'll be 1-1 or 2-1. Craig will take whichever one I don't go for. So let's go for one apiece. Championship's favourite scoreline.
I disagree. I'm going to go 3-0 Norwich, to be honest. Norwich at home, they want to win the title in style. That'll take them on the 96. I think, last final home game of the season. Do it in style. Lift a trophy that day. Happy days. 3-0 Norwich. Another team who submitted their place in the playoffs is surprisingly Barnsley. They are away to Preston North End. Cody, Barnsley really got nothing to lose in these next games because no one obviously anticipate them to be in the playoffs at all. So do you think that these games are a free hit?
Oh, definitely. I think that the one problem we have, and it's something that Charlie mentioned last week and for a couple now, is do they start thinking, let's rest some players? Do they think about which team do we want to avoid in the playoffs, which is very hard when 3 of them are on 77 points. But I do think for Barnsley, like if you take Daryl DK out of that side up top, in my opinion, they can't win the playoffs. With him in there, it's a very different picture. So do you think, oh, we'll just leave him on the bench for now and only bring him on if we need to save a game? Do you think, oh, let's just give a couple of those defenders that have been carrying a knock, who have been on injections or whatever, why don't we just give them a rest for a week? That's where I worry about this game. And Preston won their last home game 3-0, albeit it was against Derby. But then they lost the one before that 5-0 against Brentford. So I'm going to go almost in the middle. I'm going to go for Barnsley to win 1-0. Whether DK starts or he's off the bench, I think he's going to score the winner. So 1-0 to Barnsley on the road. Not going to be one for the purists, this.
Yeah, Preston are just Preston. I can't wait for next season when I don't have to talk about how inconsistent Preston are, hopefully. I hope. And they still haven't got. They've got a new manager. They will get a new manager coming in the summer anyway. So I hope there'll be no inconsistency with Preston. But I think Barnsley win this game. I'm going to go one more goal than you. I'm going to go 2-0 Barnsley. Charlie.
Preston at home, 4th worst in the league on the form table. But they do just have these moments, don't they, Preston? Just when you think it's going against them. And Swansea are playing a woefully out of form derby. So I think Swansea will pick up a win, which will move them potentially up to 4th. And then that would mean that Brentford, depending on different results. I think Swansea's the one you want to play. If I'm honest, if I'm Barnsley, that's probably, I don't want to be playing Bournemouth, and I probably don't want to be playing Brentford. And given current form, I'm on about. But I think Swansea will get a win. So I think that puts a bit of pressure on Barnsley in this one. So I can't believe I'm saying this. 2-2.
Right, massive game in Yorkshire. Rotherham United versus Blackburn Rovers. Charlie, Rotherham on the worst possible form can still survive in this final week. What do they need to do? Because I really want them to win a game. What do they need to do?
Do you know what? What might help them ever so slightly? This is in the last few weeks. This is the biggest gap they've had between 2 games, and that extra day or 2 of recovery might just help in the fact that it's gone from Tuesday, Saturday. Prior to that, I think it was Tuesday, Thursday, wasn't it? Sunday, and all of this kind of malarkey. So it is a bigger gap for them. Hopefully, you'd like to think they're a bit more rested, but it's still a massive ask. And at home, they are bottom of the form table, and you cannot ignore that when you talk about predictions. Whether they're playing, as we've mentioned all season, inconsistent Blackburn. I'm back in Wednesday to do it, so I think I have to go for a Blackburn win. I think Rotherham will go too hard too early. I mentioned this earlier on. They'll let in an early goal, and really the stats have shown that once the Rotherham goal down within the first half an hour, it's game over generally. So on that basis, 3-1 Blackburn. Sorry, 3-1 Blackburn. That's what I meant to say.
Cody?
I genuinely haven't got a clue because Rotherham, I mean, I know they've lost the last 5, but they've all been by a single goal. 4 of them are 1-0. If Freddie Ladapo finds any kind of form in these last couple of games, Rotherham could pick up 6 points just like that because the performances haven't been poor. They've just not quite had enough going forward. And maybe it is that catching up of the games. Maybe it is that the wing-backs don't want to get as far forward. Maybe it is that the centre midfielders haven't got those bursting runs in the last half an hour. Those little tiny fractions can make a massive difference. Blackburn, though, back on form. 5-2 win at Huddersfield, but it's a Huddersfield side that are poor. And the side that they beat before was a Derby side that were poor. And against anyone else, they've really struggled. I haven't got a clue what to go for. It's the one I cannot even put a number on. I'm going to go for Rotherham to win it. 2-0.
Come on, Rotherham. I don't care about Blackburn in this game. I want Rotherham to win. I want a good final day of the championship season that we can all go, last minute winner. So, yeah, I'm going to go Rotherham to win 2-1 just because I really want a last day drama. 2 teams who haven't got last day drama is Stoke City versus Queen's Park Rangers. I got nothing to say about these sides. I'm going for 1-1. Charlie?
What I will say, stats-wise, both of these teams, in terms of Stoke being at home, QPR away, very seldom keep clean sheets. So I'm going to back goals, which means it's definitely going to be 0-0. It's whether I go for, I can't see the Stoke win because, I mean, Stoke, even at home, which is their slightly better form, are still not won in the last 3. QPR, 2 wins on the bounce. I'm going for a lot of goals. 4-2 QPR.
Right, okay. Cody?
I think QPR are going to win. They've won their last 2 away games against decent top-half sides. Their defeat was against Norwich and a Rotherham side that had loads to play for. Stoke are not a side with loads to play for. Stoke are not a side in good form. And this is the problem. Stoke were in a thriller against Coventry and in 3 poor games either side of that. So QPR are going to win. I think it's going to be a comfortable win, albeit a slender scoreline. I'm going for Stoke 1, QPR 2.
Right, at Liberty Stadium, it is Swansea City versus Derby. Swansea have secured the playoffs with that 2-2 draw against Reading. Derby are just as bad in form as Rotherham. Would it go to the final day, Cody?
Maybe. Maybe. I just don't know, because Swansea, to draw at home to Wycombe, they've stumbled over the line. Let's be honest. If Reading were in any semblance of form, it would be very tense now. And we kind of wish it was from a neutral point of view. But a 2-2 draw away to Reading did the trick for them. But then against QPR, against Wycombe, they were poor. Derby, though, if there's any side you want to face to get back into form before the playoffs, it's probably Derby. But they've got something to play for. And surely if they're ever going to react, it's this one. But it's not the fact they're losing. Bar the Norwich game, where they were actually defensively sound, they've been really poor at the back. I'm going to go for big for Swansea. I'm going to go 3-0, and Derby might go down.
I'm going to go with Swansea to win by 2-0. Derby have just been very, very poor. The writing is on the wall for Derby at the moment. If Rotherham can get something, very much all to play for in my predictions. Yeah, 2-0 Swansea. Charlie.
Yeah, no, I agree. The thing is, I think, I know what you said about not having to play for. However, if I'm Swansea, I am looking at, if I'm being brutally honest, Bournemouth are probably the team I don't want to play in the playoffs at the minute. For me, I think there's still a lot to play for in the playoffs. You're up jostling for position. So I think Swansea have still got a lot to play for, and even with a bit of rotation. Derby are that poor in form. And I mean, especially away from home, 4 losses on the bounce. 1 win in 13? I'm going for 1 win in 14. My worry is that their goal difference is exactly the same as Sheffield Wednesday. And that's going to be a huge factor, both on -21. So if you're Wayne Rooney, do you go a couple of goals down and then just try and plug it up and just take the loss, but keep the goal difference down? I think he might try that, it'll backfire. 4-0 Swansea.
And the final game is at Adams Park. Is Wycombe Wanderers versus AFC Bournemouth. Charlie, Bournemouth, forget that defeat. They've been in good form. But Wycombe somehow still haven't got that relegation mark on them. But it's pretty much done, isn't it, for them?
Yeah, the problem is they're giving away 13 goals on goal difference. So that alone is a point. I don't like saying it because I really wanted to stay up. I genuinely love the club, and what they've done for us. But they are dead and buried. However, they have got a Bournemouth side that generally have been in great form. And, I've said about Woodgate and the wonderful job he's done there. He has fared quite well against teams in the bottom half of the table as well. He's tactically been quite astute with them. He's, pressed when he's needed to, but he's also hit teams on the counter. I think he's got enough experience, and particularly being a centre-half. I know it sounds silly, but even as a manager, against direct teams, let's be honest, as centre-halves, we all love that. Ball down the middle of you constantly love heading it, that kind of kicking it away, that kind of stuff. So for me, on that basis, this is Jonathan Woodgate's game down to a T. So unfortunately, I can only see a Bournemouth win. I'm going to go for 2-0.
Cody?
It's quite difficult, this, because there's part of me thinking, are Bournemouth hitting poor form at the wrong time? Because I know it was against Brentford, but if you pick up back-to-back defeats just as you're going into the playoffs, it could be really disappointing. Wycombe, I've got a caveat here, which I'm pretty sure this will be Gareth Ainsworth's last home game in charge, because I'm so sure he's going to be in charge of Preston next year. I might be proven wrong. But based on that, I don't think it's going to be a happy ending, because as Charlie says, when they've played sides with not much to play for or nearer the bottom, Bournemouth have been scintillating. I'm going to say Brentford was a blip in the road. Bournemouth are going to win 4-1, which they've already done twice in the last 5 games. That's
literally what I wrote down before your 2 predictions. I'm going to stick with it. I don't care. Yeah, I think Bournemouth are going to win 4-1. I think they're just going to be ruthless against Wycombe. And it's sad because I have to give Wycombe a lot of credit in the last 6 weeks, because they've really battled hard just to even get close to not even finishing bottom, because they still could finish second bottom or bottom bottom. So I have to give them a lot of credit. So let's have a quick recap of what we just predicted on. Me and Charlie think they're going to be goals galore at Kenilworth Road with 3-2 and 3-3 respectively. Daniel Cody is going to go big on Bournemouth to beat Wycombe 4-1, and I also agree with him on that. And those are our predictions for the penultimate weekend of Championship. Do you agree with us or disagree with us? Let us know in the comment section down there and give us your predictions of who is going to go down. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Honest Football Podcast, and you can follow us on Twitter at HonestFootball3. And we'll see you next time.